Hi, I'm sorry, can you hear me? Oh, hi. I think you might be on mute. Sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to be hearing this meeting or not. Um,
And we'll start. Uh, Good evening, everybody. This is another regularly scheduled meeting of the Downtown Bangor Parking Committee. I am Joseph Leonard. I am the chair for this committee, and I'm actually going to have everyone introduce themselves around the table. Matt, how about you start off? Yeah, we'll just get that. Are you good?
I'm Matt Altiero. I'm the planning analyst for the city.
I'm Bigita Hernandez Smith, the Economic Development Officer for the city.
Alton Buzzell, Director of Marketing for Hollywood Casino and Vice President of Downtown Bangor Partnership Board.
I'm Robbie Finley. I'm one of the residents.
Altie Hobbs, resident member of the committee.
Ann Ross, business member.
Amanda Curry, Assistant for Parking.
Art Clemens, Manager for PCI Park.
Okay, and we will later in the meeting have some more committee members or one committee member attending, and then Planning Officer Anya Collette will be joining us later. So with that, we will bring the meeting to order and we will first go over some old business. And the first one will be a parking proposal regarding 128 Main Street. Cindy, would you like to things on that?
I would, we were expecting the gentleman that attended the last meeting to be here, and he is not here. So can we bring that agenda item to the bottom?
Of course.
Is that okay?
Is that,
Yeah, that's the applicant online.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, Sharita, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Sharita Rustanavel. I am the landlord of the building. It's actually owned by my parents, but I'm here in their place. And I was the one that submitted the proposal. So thanks so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, can you share the proposal with us, please?
Uh,
Just summarize the proposal, because is it in this meeting that we decided to make a decision on the proposal?
It was going to be this meeting, yes.
Yeah, so we're just looking to make the 2 parking spots in front of our building to be 15-minute parking spots. A lot of this is due to some of the issues that we have encountered with the Bruntas next door neighbors. They believe that if we make these parking spots 15 minutes long, it will allow for our DoorDash drivers to then park in those parking spots and thus be able to increase the flow of traffic and not block their driveway. So yeah, we just wanted to submit this because we've received complaints.
Okay. I know we discussed this last meeting, but I do want to open it up to the committee members for any additional thoughts on this topic.
I think this is kind of a waste of time, honestly, because this isn't any more than what we heard last time. Like, we were focused on hearing whether the people that were having an issue with their Door Dashers were like had a number of times that they have the issue or like something along those lines, and that's not presented. So this is literally just hearing what we heard before, and as of before, we had made a decision that we weren't gonna change the parking spaces unless we heard more about what the actual problem is from the people who have the problem, is my opinion.
Sorry.
Oh, and joining the table, would you mind stating for the record who you are and your title?
Yep, Jake Berkowitz, general manager, cross.
Thank you so much. Well, when we're discussing 128 Main Street. Any other additional comments or thoughts?
No, I would concur here. Do you have a sense of what the complaints are and the frequency of the complaints and who the complaints are coming from? We
Yes,
asked for that information.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think I would honestly love to hear, because it sounded like the attorney was here last time. Did they not have complaints about this and why they want, because so I guess maybe I'll give a little bit of context here. They have been upset with some of the cars kind of where the Door Dashers and Jane and Joe Doe, who we don't know, like they could either be customers or people of the public, parking in like the area between our building and theirs. And they claim that they're our Door Dashers. And so they want to make sure that we're doing everything as the landlord on our end to make this proposal to the city to see if we can get those parking spaces in front of our restaurant changed to 15 minutes, because they believe that that will allow for the Door Dashers to park in the front versus in their area. But I would say, honestly, I would love to get your thoughts. If they didn't provide any complaints, then I don't know why we're doing this. And like, was there any feedback from them as well of like what issues this has directly caused? Because I would love any documentation on that too.
I think one of the things that we requested at the last meeting was, to your point, was more data, right? Like what's the frequency of, I mean, for you, what's the frequency of DoorDash users? Like, do you guys have 100 DoorDash is a night or 10, right? Like, is this really going to alleviate anything, or is this making a mountain out of a molehill and creating more limited parking in Bangor? It's also not enforceable during prime DoorDash hours. So it kind of feels like just spinning our tires, so to speak.
Well, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but it was that final point that actually kind of, for me, was the big stickler, is that even if there were data that was very convincing that it was being as problematic as the attorney from last meeting made clear, it is just literally unenforceable because of the time allotment that we give to our parking staff to actually enforce those parking limit times. And so even if we were to implement this, I don't think it would actually change the situation that your clientele are experiencing, because our hands are really tied.
Mhm. Yeah, did they make any specific claims about why this was an issue? I guess I'm just trying to understand if the opposing party had said, like, because if we were to do this, it would allow for X amount of traffic flow. Like, there was nothing at the last meeting. Apologies, I wasn't there to hear.
Not that I can recall, and I'm seeing nods to the left and right from those committee members as well, unfortunately.
Okay.
Did you have any additional information to provide at this point, knowing everything that we just informed you?
No, I mean, I think what would be helpful is if there's any way I could get even just like documentation of this committee meeting. And I'll be honest, like it's been very, very tough. Like I'm getting the sense in the room too that you all kind of agree that this is a little tough. And so I'm on the other side of it where like these people are basically suing us because of this issue. So anything that you could provide that we've had this conversation, that I've made a good faith effort to ask us to
Absolutely,
make this
yes.
change, that would be really, really helpful, because if they're not showing up at this meeting and they're not telling us why this is an issue, then I still don't understand why this is an issue. So I really would appreciate that too. Unless I'm missing anything at all. Like if I am, please let me know too.
We can absolutely do that for you. I see Brigida taking some notes, and if you do you have her contact information?
We have, yes,
Okay.
we'll have, yeah.
All right, so we will provide that to you. We will wait in the next couple of days or next week or something.
By early next week?
Yeah, I think that sounds great. And again, I just wanted to do what I am told to do based off of the request that was made. So yeah, if any sort of documentation would be super helpful, I really, really appreciate it. And I think even just outlining the fact that the opposing party did not state the specific problems of why this is an issue, because that would have been helpful for me too, because I think this is why we're here in the first place. Yeah.
Okay. Unless you have any more information to provide, thank you so much for attending the meeting, and we really appreciate you doing your business in the city very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks you all. Bye.
Unless there are any other final thoughts, staff, do you have anything to add on this? Okay, I think I'm gonna trudge right along to VPI recommendations. So Brigida, would you like to take that away?
So Councilor Leonard, Anne Krieg had requested that this be scratched from the agenda. She wants to have conversations with other entities before we go over this. So do we make a motion? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, to indefinitely or to a certain date?
Indefinitely at the moment.
Sure, okay. I'll look for a motion to postpone indefinitely, if anyone would entertain that.
Make a motion to propose to delay indefinitely.
Right, second?
Second.
See a few seconds, unless doubted, this will be postponed indefinitely,
Can I ask a question?
of course.
It's going to be postponed indefinitely because other conversations need to be had, but is there anyone that wants to express anything about the VPI recommendations that we could take into those conversations that you had prepared?
I'm not seeing
No?
anything at this moment. If anyone does have any thoughts, please email either myself or Vita or Anne to get those thoughts. Okay, with that said, we will move on to new business. Public parking meeting feedback. This actually was a pretty good event turnout. We had a decent amount of people came in and provided their back, and I won't take the whole event away, but there were a lot of really great conversations that were had, and I think a lot of misinformation was articulated to be exactly what it was, and I was so happy that a decent chunk of people, two of which first used the parking garage for the first time ever, and it was actually for them it was a very wonderful experience, and which this is just showing my bias, but I use the parking garage literally every day, and I absolutely enjoy it very much. Great aspect of the state. Anyway, sorry to steal your thunder, but do you have anything you want to leave this conversation with?
Sure, so I thought it would be efficient and productive if we let the conversation, you guys have the summaries of all the questions, right? So what I was thinking was we'll pose the question and then I'll give a guidance to discuss. And then somehow we can come to an action item if relevant, so that we can make sure that in our meetings, we're not only discussing, but we're trying to, make motions to action. Time is precious, right? So question number 1, do you find yourself looping for parking? What's the solution? Summary of responses. So this is a summary of all of the responses. So most are not looping. Issues raised were confusion, lack of signage, loading zones, and lack of awareness of garages. Some mention more parking, but not dominant. So I would like to guide us in a discussion around whether we agree that this isn't a supply issue. It's about visibility and turnover. People don't know where to go, or spaces are being held too long. So just thoughts.
Thoughts from the committee?
I totally agree with that. I own a little business right down here on Main Street, and on Harlow Street. And so I regularly hear from my clients and the people that visit that visibility is key in terms of where to park. I know we don't have an app to direct people to the parking. I think the mobile app is just for pay only, so you can't go on and look off of that phone, I believe. So visibility of parking signs, where to go. And it is confusing. It's confusing also because the time limits are inconsistent. We've got 1 hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours, 4 hours. And so what does that mean? Where do you go? How do you know where to go if you're a newcomer? And I hear that a lot from my out-of-town clients. One of the items that I have is jury duty parking. So when I had my jury duty, somebody had said, well, she's on the parking committee. Yeah, it was exactly. Eyebrows went, huh? And the comments that I heard from people and how they navigated coming days in advance to figure out Bangor, and then trying to navigate the parking garage, which for many were a nightmare. And then when it's full, where do they go? Because you can't park across the street and get reimbursed.
Well, can I speak to that? Just if we're gonna go there, because parking garage is never full. It's never full. Amanda, just so you know, Amanda's the assistant manager. She's been here for 6 years.
The night
She's the night person. She'll be the one that represents PCI on these committees meetings from going forward. Certainly I'll advise her, but she's been through other parking committee meetings. Also, I think it's good to know, because I know we're not voting members, okay, we're advisory like the city is. But yeah, we do have jury selection, and I've seen the instructions that sent out. My mother's been on jury selection, and they're very specific. And if you have Google Maps, I think you can find the parking garage pretty easily. But I don't disagree with the signage, but that's another whole story. I just wanted to resolve that because
Never.
And what was the confusion around the garage? Was it where it is?
No, I think it's when you drive in the first, so entrance, how to get in, and then when you go in, there is already metered parking. So you go the first layer, then you go around to the next layer, and those are permitted parking. And then people get discouraged because this is what I heard, how far up do I have to go to find? And it's this whole thing, did I make a mistake by not having a permit? So I think having clear signs of where the permitted parking ends, how far up, saying available parking is on level 2 when you come into that place. And for jury, where do you actually come in, and then where are you? And I know that people can access Google Maps, but some of these people are elderly that don't have that technology, or easily get confused when they're under new experiences or under stress. It's stressful to be a juror. It's stressful to come in there. But I do think that a signage inside, signage outside about how to navigate that parking garage. I know I went in and went, well, where do I park? Permit, 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 permit. How far up do I go before I can park?
And a lot of our visitors, especially not from urban areas, aren't used to parking in parking garage. I mean, we have a parking garage and we deal with it the same stuff, right? I don't know how to get into your parking garage. For us, it's like we park here every day. It's really easy. It's right there. It's the entrance. That's how you get in there. And yet we still have constant people just don't understand because this is the one time a year that they use a parking garage, and it's intimidating, especially when you're 70 years old or even younger sometimes, and you're just not used to it. So I agree. I think signage, we can do better at the casino too. So it's not, but I think just some increased signage to help people understand, to your point, where those zones that they should be going to might be helpful.
Parker, have we done anything in the past regarding signage of availability?
No. Availability, I mean, in other words, how many spaces are open?
Yeah, or just directing people to what level there's availability.
It's always been, we, 10 years ago, they spent about $20,000 on that sign that you come in on, so, and redirected people. And the only permit signs are actually before you get to the gates. So I believe the instructions are go get a ticket, enter in. Once you get beyond the gate, there is no permitted parking. Once you take the ticket and the gate opens, you go in, there's nothing that says permanent parking. It's just all free parking. It's, you just have to go until you find space.
Then that's actually great to know, because I have a permit to park in that deck, and the first floor does do the 2-hour signs and then they go away. So it does give the illusion that the first floor is like 2-hour only and the upper part doesn't have that. And when you take the elevator, it says second floor and above is for resident parkers only. Like that sign on the elevator says something to the tune of,
It says for parkers only.
yeah, something for like, it makes it seem like you're supposed to be like someone who has a monthly pass parking on floors 2 and 5, which I just like, since I have the monthly pass, I'm just like, well, I can park wherever I want, like until that top row where they zone you off. But like, that could, I'm like thinking about it now and I'm like, oh, maybe that is confusing, even though it
If you don't
doesn't,
know.
yeah, it
If you
doesn't
don't
seem
know,
like
then
it should
maybe
be.
quickly and not
Because it does say on the front of the deck, like 2 hours free, so that would insinuate that like anywhere in the deck is 2 hours free, but maybe
the signs throw people off or something. That's a good point.
So I'm hearing signage is and direction is probably the biggest takeaway from this conversation. And I think more signage, more direction doesn't necessarily hurt. And actually, to your point regarding jury duty, we do have that across the Kenduskeag walking bridge that is very convenient, but a lot of people are kind of actually not aware of that. And it actually might be to our benefit to, on either side of that bridge, sort of giving signage on, hey, here's all the restaurants, or here's all these businesses, or this is where the courthouse is, and Camden National Bank. Actually, minor points that you brought up regarding the 2 hour and 4 hour parking on the first floor of the parking garage. Won't name names, but there are people who park there overnight and they never get ticketed for that. And oh, they do. Okay.
And they just, yeah, they do.
Just a little history on that too, because that was a request of a previous part. Because all those first level was being taken out by monthly customers. So we put up all those 2 hour parking just to encourage that to be what we call transient parking, which is hourly parking. So those are put up there, purposely to do that. So a lot of these things that you're seeing, and like the sign, the elevator was done because we had actual transient people coming in wanting to go up to the top floors, and we didn't want people that were not garage customers using the elevators going up and down all day Saturdays, but I can understand why it'd be confusing, because we're looking at it every day, like he said, and some of these things made sense at the time, and maybe we have to rethink them. So
Okay, I stand corrected. Okay, only some people. But I think again, the takeaway is just more signage never hurts, and one of the things I always try to remind myself is that we're a city of 32,000 people, but on every day during the week, there are 110,000 people in the city. And why they're in the city of Bangor, who knows? But they're here, and we do need to help direct them where to go in the city, where to park, and where to potentially even give a direction if people do get lost and get kind of stuck in that loop. I know that not many people got answered that they were always stuck in that loop, but it is a decent amount of people who do. And I think addressing that with signage is going to not only help that, it will just help with everything related to parking. And the more signage that we have directing people to the garage, maybe one day we'll be entirely full. That's the goal.
Right.
Okay.
Do we want to talk about improving turnover? So, seems like the majority of folks didn't think that we needed more. It was just about, we have a turnover problem, right? So how do we go about addressing that turnover? Do we want to discuss that?
I think that would be acceptable. Any thoughts on that discussion? You've seen it, right?
I mean, I don't know that it's that massive of an issue. I mean, a couple of things, right? We can put up as many 2 hour parking signs as we want, but as we've discussed with the previous vote, like, it's unenforceable on the premium times where people are feeling that way. But if somebody that comes downtown often at busy times, yeah, sometimes you got to take a couple loops, but you can almost always find a spot. I don't know that I think it's more of a perception. I think the conversation is more, how do we, and maybe that's not the job of this committee, but how do we as a community change that perception rather than it really truly being a massive issue?
They're very well said. I took this right. Any other thoughts on the turnover comments? Okay.
I just reflect back on we brought the data last meeting about the turnover rates, and they actually are within what a good town would have. Turnover rate is at a good level. So, I mean, again, it's perception, and that's another whole issue.
And I think honestly, we all know when our little time is up and when we see the little white car. We all know the drivers, so, there's an incentive when we see that. For me too.
So we automate it, we get a robot that just goes around 24 hours a day. That looks like parking enforcement.
Okay, we wanna move on to, question 2 or station 2?
Sure. Question 2, which was at station 2, how far are you traveling and are other modes feasible? Summary of responses, many are local or within short distance, some use walking or bus. Discussion. Demand is concentrated in prime areas because most people are coming short distances, right? Do we agree that prime street parking should prioritize short-term users? So meaning that those parking spaces that are prime, should we prioritize those for those who are coming in and leaving?
Thoughts, questions?
What's the idea, or like, what do we mean by prioritize, like more than having, so like shorter than 90 minutes on like Main Street is what you're thinking?
Or, because I think the theme around here is like perspective and promoting such and telling a certain narrative around. So if we say, okay, we're prioritizing, we can't really control it, but we can use our communications to guide people to garages who are here in the area long term versus short term, prioritize those prime spots. Because those short term parkers are going to be utilizing our services and our restaurants, and we want to make sure that we continue to encourage that because that contributes to our economy, economic development, and so on.
I would appreciate that and concur with you, and especially with our new Main Street America designation. That's part of our responsibility is to prioritize, or using the good language there, to make that happen because we want to make Bangor welcoming. Absolutely, and we don't want cranky people looping and not being able to support our local businesses. Yeah.
When you say short term, are you referring to 15-minute parking or more like a 60 to 90? So when I hear short term, I think 15-minute, which is more just loading, just parking, pick up and go. Which doesn't really get to the benefit.
I think we're thinking 60 to 90. Dinner, drinks, shopping.
It seemed like a pretty simple conversation despite the gravity of it. Just full clarification, I'm the one who wrote the 0.05 inch. Perks of living downtown. Unless there are any other questions or thoughts on question 2, unless staff has anything they'd like to add on it, do you want to use the question?
Sure, and I think just to, if you guys are thinking about like what the plan of action is, we're getting consensus around certain things, and for the next meeting, we'll present ideas on how we go about those decisions, right? How we go about enforcing what we've agreed upon. Next question is, do you use garages or lots? If not, why? Summary, garages are used, but barriers include awareness, lighting, security concerns, and navigation. So we have capacity for off-street, but perception and visibility are the barriers, right?
Yep. Yup. Yeah, I just hear that all the time. If it's dark and my female clients who come in, if it's dark and it's sketchy, I'm out. If I can't park right by that restaurant, I'm out.
And if I can just add, I've heard that particular complaint for years at this point, and even though the data shows us that it's incredibly safe downtown, this is one of the safest places in the entire country to be, and I will always reiterate that point over and over and over again. That said, though, people's feelings are valid. And one of the things that I thought of this, and I don't know if this committee has a similar thought on it, but just adding lighting to not just the downtown area, but particularly more areas where parking is located, even if it's purely decorative, it actually does significantly help making people feel more comfortable, more safe. But it's also twofold. Lighting is, I'm a big proponent of lighting in cities just because it just makes your city not only more welcoming, just makes it look more festive all year round. And it's a, in my opinion, a very good investment to make for multiple purposes. I won't talk too much, and I piggybacked off of your point, but did anyone want to add anything else to this question and some of the responses people had? I know a lot of these questions kind of relate to each other, but I think it's good for us to recognize some of these topics and the input that citizens gave. Maybe ignore mine.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, I think it's the perception again of safety. And that's gonna be a hard one for us to go up against because it's not just, it is the perception, erroneously in my opinion, of downtown Bangor being, to your point, unsafe. Not much this committee can do to change the general public's opinion. But certainly things like lighting can help, hopefully at a reasonable cost and not ridiculous, because lighting is expensive, as many of us in this room know. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a perception thing.
But I also think to be creative with the lighting, obviously the ideal is that it looks nice and it looks, but from priority one being a security measure, I think as a working at the building, just lighting up an area makes a world of a difference. And you don't have to add lights, you don't have to add street lamps all around, but you add a couple of lights that are good lights that light up a large area, and it will make a huge difference, I think, in the perception. I think being able to see more than 100 feet ahead of you will make a good difference. Like, as far as the safety, security kind of measure, second to having a security guard at every lot, which is obviously not a realistic thing at the moment. I think lighting is your best kind of immediate solution to help with that perception.
Do we have cameras in the parking garages? And is that this, like, is there signage visible? And I apologize, I don't park in the garage very often, but is there signage? There is, okay.
We have a security.
Yeah, those little string lights on the Condescag walkway are very cool, and it makes it feel safe going in there. Maybe adding those on the bridge. Those block grants are going out for downtown facades. Maybe there's a way of rolling in some funding with that, or to look at how those businesses are selected in terms of lighting, because I have lighting is basically put into that grant. I know that's out of our purview, but again, we want Bangor to be welcoming, and if people won't park like down by Bartholomew's, then they're not gonna go to that spot. If Harlow Street, if this is the only place where they can go to 11 Central and it's not lit on Harlow, they're not gonna go to 11 Central, they're gonna go home.
Okay. Did everyone have express their thoughts on this? Did anyone want to speak anything more to this? Stop. Okay.
I have taken notes. So I mean, it's just great to have alignment. And then we can discuss internally about how we move forward.
Awesome. Okay. So question 4. So if you're an owner or employer of a downtown business, where do you park and why? Sorry, I'm taking your. You want me to go forward? Okay. So overall, what this sort of seemed like was the consensus was the biggest issues or concerns with parking downtown and what they thought the solutions are. It really seemed like that most of the focus went on downtown Hammond and Columbia Street, and the downtown parking garage was the primary focus of the conversation. But I found it so interesting that that one of the comments was it was crowded parking at the parking garage, which obviously, like, I park there every day. It's never crowded there, but
It might be a perception issue. I mean, parking garages are, you know, that's a huge issue because you get in there and you feel like, you know, the same issue, right? You get in there, you feel confined, and that garage, and I've been to lots of other cities, and that one's a nice layout compared to some of them. Some of them are really small, but I think the perception of parking garage is just hard to get that. It's a perception issue, but maybe that's what they're feeling, especially like on a concert night or something. There was a lot of activity there. I can feel.
Or they have one of those giant trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They tend to park like close to the corners for some reason,
Yeah.
and so you're always like,
Yeah.
hope no one's coming.
and I as someone who used to play the parking game for years, being a resident downtown, there are certainly certain parts that definitely do get hit up and abused more than others. That Columbia Street is, I know because I used to be, is one that is heavily abused. And so, well, one of the things that, and again, I don't know exactly how to enforce that because parking is always going to be in demand in downtown. But how do we change that the traffic flow and that idea of people in downtown to not park as long there? Because and I'm sorry I'm taking over this conversation, but like I literally was one of these problem residents, so I know how they think. Is playing that parking game is very much something that residents feel very comfortable doing, because the tickets compared to how much a monthly pass is at the garage, you can basically get like 4 tickets, and that's the equivalent of a month's worth of parking at the parking garage. And so, well, one of the things that I've tried to bring up is maybe revisiting a conversation on what those overall monthly charges are for residents of Bangor itself, because it's not about making the money per se, in my opinion. It's more so making sure people have that traffic flow. And if you make it so that people, that the risk is too great to play the parking game, rather, and it's just cheaper and safer to just get a parking garage pass that, let's say it's $30 a month, or potentially even lower than that, that would have incentivized me personally years ago to just take in a monthly garage pass. But that's just me. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on this particular one.
Well, just as a little bit of back history on the parking tickets, I've been here for 25 years and I don't remember the last time the parking tickets changed.
Who's responsible for that? Is that
The city as a whole. So
I mean, the price.
the price, it's $15 for overtime parking.
$15?
Yes.
Just gonna start parking.
Yeah, I just say, people
Yeah.
want to incentivizing, not that we want to charge people more, but that would be the other, right, is charge more per ticket.
Yeah, that's the other option. Of course, if this committee wanted to say propose that change, I mean, of course, like you guys can make that proposal, and it might be the one dissenting voice. But
Yeah, I'm looking for a lot of positive feedback on that, but.
but statistically speaking, you're 100% right. That is another way to also curb it as well.
But it also, I mean, you said 20 something years and it hasn't changed. I mean,
I don't know when I mean, it may have, we've been doing parking enforcement since 2018. But I mean, I've been coming to these, it may have been gone up from 12 to 15, but I mean, it'd be good, the police department would have, because they used to do the parking enforcement, they would have the history of it.
I know it's been 15 since 2017. So I don't know what it was like before.
Anyways.
Well, part of the question was businesses and the residents. And as a business owner who does not have access to parking behind my business, I am one of the people that play the parking game and then also try to park other places. And I like the idea of creating places or parking areas where the employees can park so that they're not out there playing. It's expensive if you're an employee or a small business owner. Paying $70 a month is a lot of money. That takes a chunk out of your paycheck. And I see why, like especially on Harlow Street, a lot of the workers in those restaurants park there and they are moving. And we've got I'm not Harlow, Franklin Street, I'm sorry. The residents and the workers play that game on that street. And I think we really need to take a look at where can we help residents and business owners and employees that don't have parking in behind there to have a reasonable place to park.
And that's actually a valid point that you bring up, is we do have a lot of employees that don't live in Bangor or live in a greater Bangor area that do have to travel in. And you know, if you're working like a dishwasher job, or if you're working a front desk job, it is very inconvenient to have a parking garage pass. And we might want to look into, similar to giving a discount to residents for the garage, if you can show your employment is with especially a downtown business. I think that would be in our favor, to actually awarding employees with a discount. Do you have something to say, Parker?
Yeah, well, I just want to, again, it's a history. I don't give me the old person here, but I mean, this was brought up about, it was probably 10 to 15 years ago, and this very issue. And this committee actually, prior committee, recommended that we start discounting some lots, and we have. And so there are lots in the city that the rooftop of the garage is only $35. Mm-hmm. This was in direct response to this issue, was that there was a lot of employers who pay for employees to park. I mean, we have huge accounts that pay for all their parking. And the same if you went to Portland or somebody else, you pay for your employee parking. That's part of what you do if you live in that. But there are a lot of people who don't, and there are a lot of employees that don't. So the committee decided to make, there's a lot on Court Street, which is just behind here. It's only for $35 a month. And the rooftop of the garage is only $35 a month. And other lots are between that. And that, yes, you have to walk. And the parking garage is just an elevator ride. But again, I just wanted you to understand that this discussion has been had before, and that was the response, was let's make some of these lots that aren't utilized heavily and discount them.
Would you say that more of the issue is the knowledge of this then to employees, that this is an option for them?
I think that what you'll find is there are businesses that are paying, or maybe not, or offer it, and the employees are not taking up on it because of the walk, right? There are employees, especially a lot of times female employees, that maybe are working over on Main Street, right? And so that they don't feel like walking at 2 a.m. after they've closed the bar down to the parking garage because of the perceived safety issues. And so whether their employer's paying for the lot or not, they're not going to partake in it because they want to be close so that they don't have to make that walk. So I think discounting the lots is great for your daytime employees, but your bartenders and your servers and your folks that are working late at night, I think it's less attractive to them, because on a snowy January, freezing cold night, and it's 2 a.m, you just shut down the bar. That's a long walk. It feels like a long walk. It's not, but it feels like a long walk. And so I think you're always going to have a percentage that are not going to partake. I also would have concerns with trying to do some kind of thing where you show you work here and you can have, because that's just opening up for a lot of fraud and a lot of dishonesty,
Good point.
dealing with dishonest people regularly. They will find ways, and it will end up biting us in my opinion.
Mark, what's the availability of rooftop parking?
We've got 53 spaces open the roof. The Core Street Lodge is all 30. We have 21 spaces available on Core Street. Yeah, so a lot of these discounted lots aren't utilized. Even in Abbott Square is $70, but the one right next to it is 58. So at Lower Abbott Square, Haynes Court, so another 100 feet, and you've got 58. You just saved yourself $12.
So I park in the big garage, and I considered the rooftop parking because it was cheaper, but I so badly did not want to have to pay to still scrape off my car and every single day drive up to the 5th floor and scan in a second time. So I find the rooftop like a bit inconvenient, which I think is why it's super like discounted, obviously. So just to like make that point that like it is available, but it's also the least convenient parking if you have to do it every day, which most people would. If you're buying a permit, you're going up 5 windy things a day, and that's just
And this,
least favorite thing.
at some point, I don't know if this is a good time or not, but please, just a step back to get the bigger view of the parking. Maybe you are aware or not aware, but the parking is an enterprise fund. What that means in the city's parlance is that it's self-contained. It's no general funds come in, none of the funds from the parking fund go out to the general fund. Okay, so everything that's within the parking fund has to be financed from parking revenue. If the parking revenue is not there, then we don't get new lights, we don't get security cameras, we don't get paving, we don't build a new parking garage, which is $30,000 a space. So I know there's nothing here, and I've never heard this from the city, that the parking is not a revenue generator for the city, because it's not. It has to stay within the park. And I think that's probably whoever the fathers were at that point, mothers, created that was so that it didn't become either a way to grab money from that pot or to start, having to fund it from some taxpayer. The other thing is that a lot of the parkers that are using these parking lots are not Bangor residents. So your funding is coming from people outside of Bangor. So I like to keep that in mind, so that, and we're running always on a level playing field. So, if we have a surplus of money, it goes right back into capital improvements. Like where the parking garage, just so you get an idea, it costs $250,000 a year just in repairs now to keep that thing going, because it's 35 years old. So it's $250,000 just to keep it repaired. That's not to operate it. So I say all this because there's always this, let's discount parking, let's do this, let's give away free parking. You can't do it. I mean, you can do it, but there is a cost, and somebody's got to replace that cost.
Do you guys keep the ticket revenue, or does that go to the city?
Everything, we don't do
Yeah, we
anything. We don't keep anything. We get a management fee, a flat management fee.
But then, let me rephrase that. Does the revenue from ticketing,
Parking tickets
parking tickets,
goes into the parking fund.
it does go into the parking fund?
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
so do you guys have statistics on like I assume you do, the volume of tickets you're giving and how much revenue that generates? And is there an opportunity to look at the volume of tickets and what a potential increase to ticketing that may help offset a decrease in some sort of monthly parking rate, so that it is revenue neutral?
Yeah, and I think the tricky part of that formula is
It's a
the idea behind the parking fees is to discourage people from getting parking tickets. It's to keep parking tickets. So does the increase in parking tickets, it's not a 1-for-1. You can't say if we have 12,000 parking tickets, we increase it $5, we're gonna get this,
Right.
$60,000. No, it's not gonna work, because the actual, hopefully the violators will go down, so you're not creating as much revenue, so.
Yeah, but then you're also hoping at the same time that the discount in monthly parking makes more people want to pay for monthly permits, which then ups your revenue in some way, ideally in exactly the same way, but it all depends on because price elasticity of demand, which we can talk about at another time. Reference to micros at University of Maine.
Sorry to jump right in very late. I'm Anya. I don't actually remember you from last time, planning officer. I've been listening to this. I've been driving here from Portland. I wanted to bring up, it was brought up by somebody at the public meeting, the idea of paid on-street parking. Just wanted to bring that up for feedback. We wanted to bring that to you at your next meeting, some more information about that. But just because I feel like it might address some of the comments that I've been hearing so far, in that if it costs more to park on the street and then we lowered prices, for example, for the monthly passes for the off-street parking lots, and made it, maybe so that people could park, maybe not on the roof of the parking garage, and maybe if people had to pay more for that on-street parking than the off-street lots, that would help incentivize that a little more, and then help kind of keep that turnover going on the street. The other thing we heard from someone at the parking meeting was that, something they've run into is that they're going to the salon, for example, and, they might be there for longer than 2 hours. They might have to go out and move their car versus if they had that app, to pay for their parking, they could just get on their app and extend that time. And the other benefit too, to that, you talked about earlier, awareness of where you could park. I think if you had that kind of app, you could see, where the parking spots downtown that are available for you to park in. So just wanted to bring that up. Maybe we discuss it here, maybe we discuss it in the next meeting, but just wanted to point that out. So
thank you for bringing that up. That was actually, you took way more than the words I had in my mouth on that. But I was gonna say, like, having almost, like, I don't think we need a feasibility study on the garage itself, but knowing what that bare minimum is in order to maintain that enterprise fund status would certainly, I think, help this committee in the future to know, like, what are those restrictions? Like how far can we actually get to that net zero in a way? Like what are the limits to the garage overall? And the only reason I say that is because we can also look at it from the opposite end of the spectrum, like how far can we push this, and what is that happy medium in terms of taking in that revenue while also making sure that we can encourage residents to use the garage more and reduce that increase the turnover for parking spaces along the streets as well. Did someone have their hand up? I think I overspoke on someone. No.
I don't know, but I do want to, like,
Yes.
just to be clear too, I don't know if we want the enterprise fund to just operate like at the bare minimum. So just to be right, because I hear, like, we just spent $1 million on our parking garage for caulking. Like it is, keeping a parking garage upright is unbelievably expensive. And it's only getting more expensive. So we can't think of it as we want to run on the baseline. We've got to make sure that we're building in, and we've got to make sure we're building in for future inflation and things of that nature, which was why I think talking about the parking tickets in particular, knowing that hasn't been reviewed or assessed in gosh only knows how long, it needs to keep up with the cost of everything. And so I think for me, it would be helpful to, and I think this kind of plays off what you were saying, Councilor Leonard, is to kind of have an idea of those options, right? Is it street side parking, paid parking, and what is the cost of that, right? I mean, apps aren't free. What's their cut? What does that look like? Is it an offset through parking enforcement versus lowering parking permits? But just having more information on what we think makes sense or what we think are options, I think would help for us to have a more knowledgeable conversation to ensure that we're getting the enterprise fund to a point where it's we can do the things that we need to do, but also the things that we're talking about, like lighting, because lighting isn't cheap either. You know, nothing is.
If I can, this sounds like a really important topic to actually have for an upcoming parking committee meeting. If everyone's okay with this, I would like to have a more expanded conversation on the feasibility of the parking garage and certain plans approach of what we think would be best for the city. I think you're right that the tickets as they are right now, I hate saying this, but we probably do have to increase them at minimum $5 to bring them up to 20. I hate saying that, but it's probably true at this point. But that's not the only thing that we can talk about.
$15 is cheaper than a beer at half the bars. That's insane.
How much, do you know how much the parking tickets are important?
No.
No.
Hey, that doesn't move to Bangor, right?
And I know we're gonna save it for another meeting. Just anecdotally, I just think the amount of free street parking in the city is probably, I don't know the numbers, but compared to any other city, it surprises me every time I come downtown. It's like, oh, the free parking here, free parking there. Like, I don't expect it. I expect to have to pay anywhere you go for street parking. So I think it's worthwhile taking a serious look at paid parking. There was a lot of questions and answers to go along with that, but I just think the fact that there is the amount, it's great that we have that offer here. I think it's unique, in my opinion.
Well, to piggyback off of that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're 100% right. That is a huge privilege that we have it in this city. And I think it is important for us to recognize that we've been so fortunate to have such lenient parking rules and ordinances and laws for so long. And again, we have 110,000 people that come to the city every day. And we do have to recognize that we're not just a small town anymore. We are a regional player, and other people heavily rely on us. And it's important to recognize that there is a huge responsibility that we have to making sure that we also serve the needs of those people that do business in Bangor and have their livelihood as well. So very, very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I know we kind of really hit that topic pretty hard, but does anyone have any other thoughts on that before we move on to the next question? Okay. Do you want to take us to the next one, or was that the last one?
So those were all the questions, but do you want to talk about submission, that last submission? Or you want me to think?
What, sorry, I don't.
There was a submission. It wasn't an answer to a question nonetheless.
Oh,
Yeah.
What is it? Sorry.
You want to?
Well, I was
talk about it?
Sure. We included it because a member of the public gave it to us to show that. So
We just included that because of that.
So the gist of it was that we don't have a parking problem, we have an attraction problem, because when people are attracted to downtown or any areas, they're going to make their way to find parking, right? It's like a desperation kind of thing, right? How do we feel about the fact that we need to do, is that a true statement? Do we need to make more attractions? How do you guys feel about that? I
respectfully disagree on both counts. I don't think we have a parking problem. I think we've talked about that quite a bit. I mean, we have an impatience problem sometimes, but I don't think we have a parking problem. And as far as an attraction problem, we have 110,000 people coming to Bangor every day. I don't think that's the issue either. We have world-class facilities, Cross Center, waterfront. We have a casino. We have Butcher and the Baker, who's now nationally recognized. We have plenty of attractions, not an issue, in my opinion. And I don't think parking is a massive issue. Are there opportunities? Absolutely. Are there opportunities for more attractions? Absolutely. But I don't think either is an issue, personally.
And I think this kind of, I read some of those comments and I kind of giggled because we talked about this in the last meeting when I said I was on these committees 20 years ago, and parking was the problem for everybody downtown. And there was just as much parking then as there is now. And yet now the city is thriving, I mean, really, literally thriving. And yet we have the same amount of parking. And I don't hear as much as we used to have as much.
The first time you told that to me, my mind was blown.
I know, it is a strange concept, but it really, I mean, that part of it is definitely true. I mean, if people are wanting to get something, we all know it. I mean, we go to some place to, Boston or Portland, and we wanna get somewhere, we wanna go to a Red Sox game, you'll find parking. You're not gonna like where you park, but you'll find parking, because why? Because you're gonna go to a Red Sox game. And so the attraction does resolve the parking, but that doesn't, like you say, the perception issue is still gonna be there, and so.
Okay. Unless anyone wants to say anything else on that lovely comment the citizen provided, why don't we move on to other new business? So we had some requests for discussion from new members, and the first one is the parking lots on Charlotte Street. Do you want to start the discussion either on?
Well, I guess I was leaving that to.
Sure. I mean.
Sorry, I didn't know that we would have all these other things to deal with, and I just thought, well, I'll just throw out some ideas as a place to go, because I have a lot of ideas about parking and making Bangor welcoming. I have an investment value. So there are, right on this side near the Central Street place where that road comes in, there are 2 ADA spots that are rarely used. I've been here for 7 years. They're rarely used, and I don't know what they're if that's something that the law office requested, or if it's an egress to come over to this building. I don't know, but I have observed over my 7 years that it is rarely used by people with an ADA designated placard or license. What I see are people that use it, that don't have that designation. And then my favorite are the mechanical services people, the delivery people that pull out their handicap decal on their windshield to do their work, and then they remove it when they leave. That's my favorite. So I was thinking that, do we need 2 handicapped? Could we remove one of them to free up some parking along Harlow Street for folks that wanna make use of the library or are doing the loop and they could sneak in to take advantage of whatever is on Central Street?
I guess before we open up to committee members, there's just a question for, hopefully you can answer this on, if not, I understand. What are the requirements for us regarding parking?
Well, a little different for a downtown. It's for like a commercial development, usually for off-street parking lots. There's like a table where we require, 1 space per 25 regular spaces, but in this situation, it's kind of hard to say. I think it's more like, where's the need? And I will say, we did hear from people at that meeting that they felt there needs to be more ADA spaces on like Main and Central Street. So maybe if the committee does want to recommend removing one of these spaces, maybe we put another space where there is that need on Main Street.
So is it more so that there's just a total allotment number that the city has to have, and I don't want to say it doesn't matter where it is, but as long as we have that ADA required space, we can shuffle certain spaces around?
Yeah, I don't know that we have a required amount downtown. I mean, I'd have to look in that more, but I don't think there is. I think we just have to provide that service where we have a need. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, please. I was gonna say, any committee members have thoughts on ADA on Harlow Street?
It's just on this side. I don't mean on the library side. It's on this side, on the law office side.
Okay.
There's 2 of them. There's the block with the law offices and then the next block of building. and there's an alleyway in between, and they're located on either side of that alley. And my guess is that definitely keeping the one that is closer to the intersection and directly in front of the law office building and well, the building services now, the law offices and the Penobscot Theater Children's Program. And I know what happens now, those slots become a drop off for after school programming. Quick, I'm going in and out, or they're going in to pay their rent upstairs. They're in and outs on those handicapped.
I mean, if there's no statutory reason why we wouldn't be able to remove one, if they're not being used and it's an opportunity to free up a space, I would have no issue with it. My other follow-up to that would be, though, I know we heard it at the public hearing, but are any businesses downtown sharing that they need additional handicap spaces? Like, is there anybody on Main Street that's actually expressed outside of that public meeting where, hey, look, guys, we're having an issue, we really need some more access? Or is that another perception thing?
The theater said that they needed another spot.
The theater does.
And,
They have two in front right now.
No,
They,
do they have? No,
They have
it's
well, there's one in front of
There's
Portland
one
Pie
on-
for
Yeah,
sure.
there's one
and
on
then-
the corner.
Park, I was gonna ask you, do we have specific parking data on the ADA spots around the city and how often they are used, or were they all sort of clumped together with all of the parking the same when we did that parking study?
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to break, I don't have any data that break it
I
out.
figured.
I certainly don't mean to take away an ADA parking spot. And I have begun to, when I looked at this and thought, well, sometimes that street is really jammed with cars and I see what happens on that street. Walking around to look at potential other businesses where having an ADA would be really important. And because I see where some of them are in a spot like, wow, that's like a long way to get to that crosswalk for that ADA. And maybe a look at where the spots are located and how we look at the distribution of where those go might be a better way to address my little freeing up a parking spot on Harlow.
I think that's a fair point, right? I mean, just like the parking ticket prices, right? When's the last time we really looked at where where the ADA spots are located compared to the changes in the business dynamics of downtown? I mean, a lot has changed in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and who knows when the last time those were really evaluated. It may be beneficial to take a look at that to see, are they distributed appropriately?
I will note, potentially this is something we can do in the shorter term, but I will note we are about to work on an ADA transition plan for our public facilities and buildings, and I think we could throw this in there too, so.
Okay. That's actually very helpful. Would that address your concerns?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. I'm just, again, I want Bangor to be welcoming. We're on I think a little resurgence here. Bangor is up and coming, and it's best to be proactive and really take a look at what we're needing. I looked at some of the requirements on Main Street America, and we're certainly moving in that direction to address those areas. But we want people coming into Bangor, and we want to make sure that we've got our bases covered and provide what we need to. So I love that.
Okay, awesome. I think we kind of covered that topic pretty well. Do we want to move on to city parking sign placement?
Well, I'm sorry, this is my little agenda. On top of one of those ADA signs, as when I put this item in, was a tiny little sign that says parking. When I walked by today, it has been a new sign has been put in, and one of the lawyers told me, oh yeah, they had to replace that just recently. The problem with the sign is it's a little bigger now. So it used to be the same size as the ADA sitting on top of it. Now it's like this. And it has an arrow. The problem is it is a misleading sign because it is by the alleyway. People who don't know Bangor think that that alleyway goes into a public parking area. And so they go down the alley and find a gate and realize I can't park here, and then they're backing back up that alley to back out onto Main Street. I would like to suggest that either that parking sign be moved closer to the actual intersection, or if that's the sign where we want that to be, to say parking, city parking garage with an address, but it's misleading. Just wanted to bring that attention to somebody.
I mean, the signage is handled by Public Works, so I'm not sure exactly.
I think I wish I can't remember the guy's name, I'm so sorry. We had a discussion about
It's something
this
to
the
look
other
at.
day. Yeah, the one of the working trucks the other day had run into that ADA sign with the sign, and somehow the top part of his truck destroyed the little sign that was on top. And so they replaced it with this sign that's this big. I have a picture if you want to see it. So my concern is that it is misleading because people are going down that alley.
I can take a look, and if it's something you can approve the work order.
And then if we want to direct them to that, then it's also hard to see that, and you come upon it, you go, oh, it's a sign, and that's when, and
I mean,
people stop to look.
The parking signage, that's a tough one, right? And I think the signs that are up there now with the blue P were something that was developed by this committee 15 years ago. And is it the best solution? I don't know. I mean, I'm not a parking designer. I mean, I run parking facilities. That would be a more design feature thing. And so I don't know. And that might be a topic in itself.
Yeah, and I mean, not to disregard it,
No.
but like I think you made a valid point in that I think that is outside the scope of our purview for this committee. And but to your point, we should refer that to Public Works or Engineering or whichever staff thinks is the appropriate route to go. Would that satisfy?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah, for me anyway. Yeah, I think so. No, I think so. I just, it's a concern when I see people backing back up that alleyway onto a busy road. It's wrong.
Completely understand. Okay, unless anyone has any more thoughts on that, do we want to talk about Abbott Square?
Well, we've touched on that a little bit, and I think maybe that's something that we can wrap around into the other parking areas, but as my business is right on that corner, trying to look at how we can accommodate business owners like myself and workers and residents where to park. And there's 3 layers of the Abbott Square. There's the public paid per hour parking. Then there's the permitted parking. And then in the back end is the resident overnight parking.
Actually, that whole back is the same. There's no division yet there.
2 sections.
Yeah, there's
No, well, there's a very clear sign that says.
The sign was, yeah, I know, the sign was put there by Public Works so that they could have a designated area where people during a snow ban were supposed to park beyond that sign. I'll be right with you on the fact that that's not a great design, but I don't know what I mean, that's a snow ban kind of thing. And the idea was that I think the idea was Public Works could plow the front part without running into cars. Well, they don't run into cars. I mean, have to plow on cars. So they could stuff them all in the back, but I don't think that's even been. I don't know. That's something we have to discuss internally because I don't think it's not well. But as far as the operating part, We just have two parking. We have the front, which is transient hourly park with the meters, and then you have the back that's monthly.
Okay.
Yep.
It's underutilized. It's
Yep.
grossly underutilized. And again, I think one of the things that we had talked about many meetings ago was to start looking at where there was underutilized parking, like the Court Street parking. I didn't realize that was $35. And I thought this might be a great spot for those workers that are parking on Franklin Street to have access to that back end of that parking at a reasonable price, as well as residents, because it is,
Yeah,
there's one car.
Yeah,
There's
it's-
always one car there, but
I think-
there's a lot of space there for people to utilize.
Is that was, so when Bangor Savings used to have their offices right on Franklin Street for many years, and Abbott Square was primary parking. And they also had Franklin Place that has the condominiums, had residents, and some of the schoolhouse apartments actually parked back there. If I remember right, they had passes back there, but I don't know that that's as relevant as it used to be, so I think that
We've
needs,
lost
but
some business.
yeah, they've lost some businesses, so I think there may be discussion with the staff about and that the parking, snow removal barn, that's a whole nother discussion, but maybe, so I think she's correct, the Abbott Square is not utilized like it used to be, it's underutilized, and one thing I will present to the committee is in the past, we've made recommendations to the prices of parking. This is like a little sheet of how, I can pass them on. This is kind of like, we haven't, so in order to adjust our revenue to meet the demands, we have been, we increased the price of the parking. We haven't done a price increase since 2023. We were doing it every couple of years. So this is a matter of discussion, maybe that as we get closer to a time when we can start making these recommendations, that maybe there are some lots that need to go down rather than up. But there are some, like the Columbia Street deck, we've had people come in there and say, I pay $100 a month, like as long as I get a space, I don't care. I park what I'll pay you whatever. So again, it's a supply and demand issue, right? So but this gives you, I mean, and that's a good discussion point, is to say, given the fact that there's not the business there anymore, is that a good time to say, let's take down the Abbott Square pricing to encourage more parking space? Splitting the lot, again, there is a logistical issue to that, because like in the rooftop of the parking garage, we have a set of gates. And we could do that, there's, electronics and stuff, and there's costs associated with it. To doing something like that, we could do it, but again, we gotta understand why Public Works, what their thinking is as far as the snow bins. So there's always like these little tentacles of things that are all kind of interrelated.
Thank you, patient.
No, it's fine. Is that the one that has the farmer's market, and
Yes.
does that cause any?
Cause that's on Sunday.
Yeah, but if you're saying you wanna put residents parking there, then
Cause it goes all the way.
it doesn't take up parking spots, is what I'm saying, is what you're
No,
saying?
no,
Oh, okay, then great.
Because there it is.
It's just it's a
And it's-
rear portion.
I was like,
There
if
are
it's
parking spots back there.
an issue with the farmer's market.
No, not at all.
Okay, great.
Not
Never
at
mind.
all. It's just, that is so close to downtown. And then the underutilization for the adjacent one.
Lower Abbott.
Is that what that's called,
Yeah,
the
Lower
Lower
Abbott.
Abbott? Okay. Also underutilized.
It's true.
Yes, I know.
Sorry, it's kind of related, but not exactly related. I just remembered that, speaking of resident parking, one of the key things that we heard from some of the residents that live downtown is that they don't have dedicated parking spots for their residents. So it's mainly a problem after hours when, the public can park anywhere in those permit parking spaces. And so they sometimes, like at the Columbia Street lot, parking garage is full, then they can't park there, even though they live right there. So that was one of the key things that we heard, and I just wanted to, bring that up.
Well,
What?
But the Columbia Street, that lot always is, that, it's a tough lot. It's a tough lot because it's tough. It would be best to have it gated, I think, for the people who use it. It is a good, but it's so small and compact that putting a gate in would actually start removing spaces to do it, so. If you have, I mean, I've looked at that, I keep looking at that lot going, wow, what can we do here? And then it's a tough one. It's a really tough one.
yeah, I think that is a discussion because there are people that want to live downtown. It's attractive to live downtown and it brings that pedestrian traffic that we all love. But I think that's also a discussion for what are the landlords, where's the landlord responsibility in terms of negotiating with the city where to put those people to park. And I'm not sure we can solve all of that, but I feel like a collaboration between some of those landlords that don't have the parking for their tenants. What do they have to offer to help offset those costs? Is that going to be the responsibility of the tenant to make that, or are they going to contribute? And where can we put the overflow? Because you're right, not everybody can park in those cushy spots there.
Yeah, I think their main gripe was that, they're paying for a parking pass, but sometimes they don't have a guaranteed parking spot was their main issue.
I think that for that lot specifically, I can imagine it being, the times when we get calls, are when there's a snow ban.
Yeah.
So then one of the places that are supposed to go to snow ban is Columbia Street lot. Well, now you've got people just coming in from all over the city going into that one area, and there's not enough spot for that. So I think the snow ban thing, I don't know, it's gonna come here at some point, I think,
Well,
because.
You're right, and that was a big issue we heard about too, and something I was gonna talk about with Public Works, but one idea that was mentioned was having the downtown parking bans in zones rather than having it banned as a whole downtown. I think that might help a lot with that issue, but again, something that we want to talk about with Public Works to see if that's feasible, so.
Be an interesting discussion to have.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure if we came to a solution regarding added parking, and it is pretty tricky overall, but do you think, oh, I'm sorry, Park, did you have another?
No, I think we should come back, come back, and we typically give something to city staff saying, these are our recommendations for pricing, and I think we're due for this summer. So let's talk about that, and what typically happens is I give it to Begita, and it goes to the economic development, but they give it to here, but I don't know there's any reason to go through that little exercise. It usually ends up back at the parking committee so that you all can discuss the prices and say, hey, this looks good and this doesn't look good. And I think that would be, we can give you some ideas. I think we do need to make some adjustments to some of these lots, but maybe it's time to start thinking other directions.
Can we do that in conjunction with looking at the enforcement stuff? I mean, again, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Looking at the revenue as a whole.
We can put that in our.
I think the conversations play off of each other. And so I think it would behoove us to have all that information so that we can make an informed decision.
Yep. And that would give us a really good foundation for multiple conversations we had as well.
It would also be helpful to have the information on street side paid parking at the same, I think all of that is really one conversation, right? Pricing here, street side pricing, parking and I think all of that's truly one conversation, and it's trying to come to an agreement on what the right mix of those things could be potentially, or might not be.
I mean, it does make sense to combine all those topics together because they all play off of each other. What would I guess staff, what would it how much time would it take for you guys to sort of prepare for that comprehensive?
I was just thinking that that's extremely comprehensive.
Yeah.
I think we need to do it in phases. Right? Like the commitment is that we will talk about all of those. Perhaps we want to prioritize them in this meeting, which I mean I think we can come back with one And then just make sure that we continue the conversation and the follow-up, because I already have plans to meet with you to discuss some of these things. I would just ask the group, what is it that you want to prioritize? I know that they all come together, but then I would think it would take some time to study that and to get that information.
Agreed. Is there a need to make a decision on any of one of these more urgently, or, I mean, and again, it's a committee, so in my opinion, I think it almost behooves us to wait if we have to try to get the information, because I do think it all plays together. And for me, I think if we have to wait 3, 4, 5, whatever months to be able to collect all of this information so that we can have a proper comprehensive conversation rather than piecemealing it, because I worry about when we start piecemealing it, we make a decision here, and then 3 months down the road, we get additional information, and now this initial decision isn't the best decision anymore. And now we're making another change, potentially, or we're operating inefficiently.
So another my history lesson is so the committee 10, 15 years ago did recommend putting paid parking on the street. And there's a lot of work that went into that. And there's a lot of work to figure out where zones and where you can park and what the pricing is. And ultimately the council decided not to do it. So I think if you go to the paid parking on street, you need to have they can't just be, this is my opinion, this committee. You need to have the downtown businesses all on board. And, the council has released their blessing. So that there is some momentum going there. I don't know what the feeling is there right now. I don't know from every business owner downtown, but maybe the downtown business group could do it.
There will be pushback for sure, but that's where having the information would allow those of us that are on the board of Downtown Bangor Partnership and that are out there having those conversations. That's the MO. We need to have a conversation if it's the right thing for the city, right? We've got to have the right data points to be able to say, we get why you're pushing back on this, but here is why it's important. Instead of just saying, we're going to throw this out here because we need more money for the enterprise, or we're putting this out here so that we can just cut the pricing over here.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we cutting the pricing over here? Well, we're cutting the pricing over here to make sure that your servers and your dishwashers and your team members are able to get affordable parking and not, right? And here's what it's going to do. Instead of paying $30, now they're going to get it for $15 because we're doing this, which is going to make your business a little easier to hire for you. We can massage that.
Mm-hmm. How long ago was that study?
It's 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
And was it an outside consultant that did a study?
No, it was done in-house.
It was done in-house, okay.
I mean, I don't know how, it wasn't an in-depth thing, it was just, I don't know. It's gonna be somewhere in the records, I just don't know where it lives, yeah.
Figure that out. But I would say it would be at least a couple months before we can bring you that comprehensive info.
But I don't think that should, I'm sorry, I don't think that should stop the convening of this group, because then we'll lose touch and we'll lose momentum.
Agreed.
I will say slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So however much time you guys need to gather that data, I want to make sure that if we are going to tackle this subject, the committee has all the proper information to utilize to make those decisions and recommendations to go forward to potentially council. So definitely give us updates if you have any. If you want to push that conversation forward, I think this entire committee would very much appreciate that whenever you guys are ready to do that.
So the comprehensive study would be the paid parking study, ticket revenue, right? An increase of ticket prices. And then there's a third, ADA monthly parking.
I think as far as impact on, I mean, we can, the tickets and the monthly parking, we can do ourselves, really not, it doesn't take that long. So that end, we can do pretty quickly, and the impact and what it will take. I think the on-street parking is gonna be the one that I don't know how you evaluate it, and because are you looking at it just strictly from a revenue standpoint? Because if it is, then that's one way to do it. If you're looking at it to increase turnover, that's another way to look at it. So I don't know, I don't. That would be.
Those things.
Those are very good questions. And I will trust staff to go in the right direction for the committee. Does anyone want to add anything else to that? I know that was a very in-depth conversation, I think a much needed one. Steph, did you have any questions for us?
Not right now.
Okay. I know we already talked a lot about the parking garage item before, but was there any additional items you wanted to bring forward?
No, and I'm sorry that I piecemealed out all
No, I'm
issues
glad you
like
did.
this. I'm sorry. No, it just was signage and so really kind of the two of those, the jury selection and the parking. I mean, we talked a lot about the parking, but here's what happens. I know you feel like there's a lot of parking in that parking garage, but when there's jury selection, and maybe you guys know this or you don't know this, when it's a big jury, they come and park over in Abbott Square. So then there is in the parade, the big open part. And it's a real problem for people who are trying to go to the library, because this happened last week and it was full of jury people.
Was the parking lot absolutely full?
Yeah.
It was full. Okay.
Yeah. So the business owners that had come in and the people that work in the law office, and I'm assuming that the city also pays for some of the employees to park there. They got there in the morning, and then the jury duty, and people coming into my studio going, there's no place to park. What's going on in town? And we quickly realized that there were jurors that were parking there wanting to know how to get over to the, what was the quickest way to get to the.
It's interesting because we do have, for the Abbott Square, the US District Court does validate parking in Abbott Square, the upper lot.
Oh, okay.
And then the court on Exchange Street do Pickering Square, so it's two different things. That's why I'm trying to isolate it, so because if they are actually utilizing to the point of being fully occupied, then we need to have a conversation with the US District Court to decide, why.
I didn't have time to really distill where all that was all coming
No,
from.
that's
I
fine.
did
No.
talk, there were a number of people that were talking, I'm here for
Yeah,
jury, or
right.
I'm here for jury. So
Okay. Yeah, well,
that, it was shocking to me to see that
yeah. Well, it's not,
as a business owner.
Yeah.
And then,
it does happen.
that it does happen, it does impact, so.
Yeah.
Looking at how we help those people that are there for jury duty in advance, and I know that because I got my little map, how we help them, whichever building they're going to know where it is to park would be really helpful. So that doesn't and I've seen it before, but that was just really dramatic because there was no place all day. So nobody could go to the library. I hear all the grumbling.
I mean, like they can though, right? Like, haven't we just decided that there are other spots people can park and they can walk to the library?
An 80 or a 90.
Well, you wanna take away an ADA spot, so.
No, but they park over there with their little markers and they go across this little button. I'm just trying to be helpful.
It used to be-
Somebody that's there seeing it.
It used to be a reason I'm asking about that. I'm a little surprised because that lot used to be a lot busier than it is now. We used to have, there used to be a booth there, and a cashier, and it was mixed use all the time. And that lot was closing constantly. Especially every time there was a jury duty. And there's, so that is, those people are coming in, they're being instructed to park at Abbott Square. What are you gonna do? I mean, I can't, we can tell the jury they can't validate parking anymore, but then you've just lost all that revenue from them. So, but it is something I will definitely look into, see because we can go back and see what the data is and say, how many jurors, where are you getting in there? And can we park it somewhere else? I appreciate knowing about
and thank you so much for bringing up all these items. It's like but please don't feel like you were problematic or anything. Like we want to hear these comments because it's how we stay informed, even if it seems very minor in some ways. It's really important for us to have these conversations. Are you okay with both of those subjects? You want to move on? Does that have good direction on that? Okay. So on other business, I'm going to apologize to the public. I meant to supply one final talking point, which was an amendment on the ordinance for the parking committee in general. So if you haven't been watching the regularly scheduled parking committee meetings, this has been a topic of discussion over the last couple of meetings. Just to establish this for the public, this is the only committee that is that is volunteer based, where the chair is a sitting elected city councilor. And one of the issues that there are a lot of issues that do come from that. One of which being if I were to not show up to this meeting, then the meeting isn't going to be conducted, unfortunately. And that has been a problem in the past. There are also issues about potentially abusing this position, just because as a sitting councilor, one could make the argument that I could personally influence this committee to go in a certain direction that would then go to business economic development or straight to the council. And basically, like, I could walk this committee to proposing something that it is not even it just would not be fair based on the power dynamics here. And so what I proposed here are changes to the ordinance, and there are but really essentially two primary changes. The first one being completely axing the requirement that the chair be a city councilor, and the other change being combining two of the lines underneath section B, where we replace that with a new section, which would be worded: 3 residents of the city of Bangor, at least one of whom resides within downtown parking management district, with preference given to one who resides outside of the downtown parking management district appointed by the personnel committee of the city. And the reason why it's worded that way is so that we can make sure we still have that voting member that normally would be the council chair, that with this change that I would be advocating for, it would replace the city councilor with another volunteer committee member for that voting member. One of the things I did not acknowledge in here was a city councilor to be a liaison, but none of our other ordinances for committee meetings really make that strictly necessary. If this committee did want to include that, or if this committee had any other additions that they wanted to make or edits to this, and staff as well, I would highly love to hear your thoughts on this as well. And I know this is the first time presenting this to you, and I apologize, but I do think this is necessary. It's for starters, it's a lot of extra work for me, and maybe it's just me being a bit of a lazy butt, but it is also extra work that it puts a lot of pressure on a counselor to not only do their homework here and lead these conversations, but then to take these conversations to the BED meetings that follow up on that, or the city council meetings that follow up on that. It would be, you know, if I were to use a comparison, it would be egregious if I were a voting member on the planning board, for example. Like, there are a lot of issues that would come from that as well. I know I talked a lot on this, and I don't want to completely cover the entire conversation. And if this committee does need more time to look over this ordinance proposal amendment, I'm amendable to that. And if anyone wants to make any additional changes as well, or if people do not like these changes, of course, you don't have to recommend to have this go forward as a committee. I would love that. If this committee did feel that they were amenable to do that. That said, if you guys don't put this forward, I will be putting forward myself on council. But I do want to hear from committee members on your thoughts, and please speak freely on this.
I just had one question, is whether there was language on the other committees about choosing a chair. That's just not mentioned, because now we're losing language about the chair.
So there are, and please correct me if I'm wrong, staff, there are no determining factors on who the chair is. It's usually a procedure where someone is nominated, and then if there are no other nominations, it's just a voting process at that point. So please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's the typical process, and there should be also a vice chair, so.
Yes, yes.
And is that typically written into the ordinance, or is it just assumed that that process will happen?
That I don't know, I just know from like planning board and HPC, historic preservation, that's in our bylaws, but I'm not sure about the ordinance.
Go ahead.
Do we have bylaws for this committee, and are they in those, or would they be in those?
That's a great question.
I have not seen them.
I'm pretty new to this committee, so I have to check.
I will say though that Robert's Rules of Order, if we go off of that, which a lot of committees do, and even council does as well, the Robert's Rules of Order makes it very clear what the procedures are. And so if there is no language that the ordinance explicitly states that the committee must follow, the notion is usually to fall back to Robert's Rules of Order.
Right, but I just want to make sure that we're aligned with other entities within the community, and not just kind of out there flopping around, so to speak, right? Like, obviously, we can always fall back to that, but I just want to make sure we're aligned with other committees, so there's no questions about validity of anything that we did, if the committee does, right? You don't want to have a vote and then somebody challenge that and say, not legitimate because you didn't follow this XYZ, so.
Completely understand, yes.
So my other thought is I do think it's important to have a council liaison at least as part of this. I think as a counselor, whether it be you or somebody else, I think you bring a perspective that is incredibly helpful to the committee, especially from the point of the dynamics happening on council, right? Like, there are going to be things that we may discuss that a council liaison can help kind of facilitate and guide us on how best to present with staff to council. And I think that's important. I think it's important to have that voice in the room, whether or not it's as a voting member or just as a liaison. I think that's open for discussion. But I do think having some sort of connection to council is important. Just my opinion.
And I will say that as I stated last week, I will continue to, if you guys are amenable to this and put it forward, I will continue to be acting as a liaison for this committee until that changes. And even if I'm no longer that liaison, one of the things that council is really trying to change is having every counselor at least be a liaison for one of our committee meetings, and certainly this one would be a priority for a counselor to be a liaison for. So I will happily continue to fill that role until that changes. So completely hear you, and I completely 100% agree with you. That's very valid points.
So I mean, for me, I'd like to see language about that
Okay.
in this, because that's the directive of current council. What about three councils from now? And this entity hopefully is still operating in some form or function, and this will still be their guiding principles. So I mean, unless, obviously this is a discussion, so like, but I mean, I think it would be good to have that in the language.
Sure. Does anyone disagree with that notion? Staff, do you see any issue with including language like that? Like, would that counterbalance some of the other committees? I don't think it would.
No, I know that there's other advisory committees where it says there's a liaison. I know like the Njajawak Marsh Commission that talks about liaisons in there and advisory members.
Okay. I'm completely that's perfectly acceptable language to add in there. And if we want to, instead of it being a proposed 4 lines under section B, you want to add a 5th one there for that being the council liaison, I'm completely happy to suggest and make that change, or we will vote on that as well. Oh, and staff, I'm more than happy to send this to you if you need me to. I can barely change.
Okay, well, probably, I mean, we would just need to put it in the form of ordinance changes.
Of course, yeah. I tried my best. Any other thought from the committee or feelings or suggestions?
Just the language on new bullet point 1. I know you combined them to combine the 2 before, but now it sounds confusing because it says 3 residents, at least 1 who's within the district, with preference given to 1 who's outside the district. So it makes it sound like you want someone. I know what it's trying to say, but it doesn't say it nicely. So if we could fix that, that'd be great. Just
that makes sense. And but we can also, like, I was just trying to combine both of them.
Yep. Yeah, no, I get what it's trying to say. It just reads a bit funny.
Okay. I do believe that 3 residents absolutely need to be on the committee, and however we want to word the language going forward. Do you have a suggestion for language, or
Yeah,
how
I mean,
we
you could
separate that?
You could just, I know you're trying to like consolidate, but if you just put it as 3 residents of City of Bangor, 1 that lives in the district, 2 I's, 1 that's preference given to 1 that's closer, and then if there's a 3rd qualification you want, or like of the other 2, preference given to 1 who resides outside the parking district, just, or
Just make it
like
a separate
at least 1 and of the remaining, like something that just makes it separate.
Just be some semicolons. And
Yeah, something, or like a bullet point below that specifies it. It's just not a big change, just
I guess to that resident question though, does this committee feel like one of those residents should have a different description or nomenclature for being for acting as a qualifier to be on the committee, or should we have, for example, 2 residents be people that fall into the downtown parking district, or, and that's just an example.
I think having it designated as one that's definitely, you have to have one, right? Because I mean, we all know sometimes it's hard to find people to participate in these sorts of things. When you start throwing a second one in there, you're doubling your challenges. And we also all know that this committee went quite a while between meetings, largely because of a lack of participation. And so I think having one where it's, look, you have to be in downtown, one that's preference to somebody maybe that's
like
not, but if we
outside.
can get somebody, and then kind of a floater, if you will, a resident of Bangor, or however you want to word it, definitely we have to have somebody that lives downtown as part of the committee. But too many qualifiers, and we limit our candidate pool,
Okay, so.
in my opinion.
I'm hearing a suggestion of like one, the residence is just no specific requirements, you're just a resident of Bangor. Does that make sense? One being in the district, one being outside the district, and one being either or in the district or outside the district? Okay. Any other thoughts on the on this, whether it be the clunkiness or the liaison or I don't.
Do we need to include in this that we are electing a chair or somebody that runs, or is that just implied?
I don't think it's necessary. That being said, if you guys want to create a process for how that chair and vice chair are selected, that's completely up to you guys. I don't think it's necessary, but that being said, if you guys think it's necessary and you want that language in there, of course, I mean, staff will absolutely work with you guys to get that specific language in there. Do you see an issue with including or not including that language?
I mean, there's no harm in including it, I think it's clear.
Okay. All right. Does that sound okay with staff, including that language for the selection of a chair and vice chair?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think as long as we're following what the other committees, how they're structured and how their guiding documents look, I'm good. Like,
Consistency
I just
across
want,
the
exactly.
committees would be really good. And so I'm assuming that would look at how selection, job description, length, you know, what are we building the agenda, or does that come from a staff member that puts the agenda together? And then how long? The length of your term? 1 year? You know, how long is this gonna go on?
Those are all valid points, and actually unfortunately creating more amendment work in the future based on these committees, but that's
if they're already posted in other committees and it's consistent across, and that's just pretty easy inclusion.
Well, I think to your point though is, and this is kind of outside the scope of this committee, but it's more so a council perspective, but I think it is actually going to be important to uniform all of our committees to the point where we can. Like, obviously there are ones like ethics and planning board, for example, that have very specific roles and very specific responsibilities, and they are going to always be unique because of their respective duties. But ones that are like ACRE or downtown parking committee and firearms discharge committee, I think it would be important for we as a city council to make it very clear what the processes are for these committees. That's a whole, that's not even, that'll be something that we'll probably have to bring forward to council at some point, maybe when with the council. Really good point. Thank you for bringing that up. We'll definitely have that be a conversation among council. Any other thoughts on this or any other questions or concerns? Staff, or did you have any thoughts on this or concerns? I know kind of like through this right at you, but okay. Well, I get. I assume, let's see, how would we go about this for proposing that this be moved forward to council? Do we want to propose it with the amendments suggested? What should the language be overall, or do we need more time to present this to the parking committee or to the BED or council? Actually, would it go to council or would it go to BED?
Well, I think it might actually go to GovOps first. I think they usually deal with the committees. I think, you know, we may want to include the edits that have been mentioned here first, and then that would go to GovOps after that's done.
Okay.
And then full council.
Okay, so I guess what I'd be looking for is a motion to move the recommended code change with the proposed amendments that we had in this discussion. Does that sound right on? Okay, so I'd be looking for that motion.
I make the motion. I just said,
Do I have a second?
Second emotion.
Moved and seconded, unless doubted. That will carry. Okay. That is all I have for this meeting. Does any other, staff, is there anything that you would like to add?
I think it was a very productive meeting.
The only other thing I see is the next meeting date. We need to set
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
important, thank you.
I think we did decide at the last meeting that Thursdays at 5:30 was what worked for everybody, is that right? Yeah. So maybe we do that again. I don't have my phone here, so I can't look at the calendar, but we can just get back to you actually, because we have to look at the whole calendar and make sure there's no other meeting dates. So let's get back to you via email with that.
Just ask as long as it's not the first Thursday of the month,
Okay.
because I have a separate board meeting that day.
Okay.
so.
Okay.
That sounds good. Any other conflicts with any other Thursdays? And if something does come up, obviously just reach out to staff if that doesn't arise.
I'll just be out of town.
Yeah, and we have historic preservation of like.
Okay, yeah.
And the 16th actually. So it'll probably be later in the month.
Okay. All right, so we will get to that as soon as possible. Okay. Any other thoughts from committee members? Okay, thank you all so much. I know this was a long meeting, but at least to echo the data, I thought it was a really great meeting overall. It's probably been a more productive partner together in part of been on council and before I was on council when I was on this. Okay, with that said, it is 7:34 and we will adjourn. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful Thursday evening.
Thank you.